I really like doing these secret or hack themed videos. I'm going to start calling them nuggets just to be more original, but I think the reason that I like them is because I just love sharing new knowledge with you guys and seeing your reaction in the comments. Now, I love camera gear, and yes, some of the stuff in this video you buy, but I also wanted to include pieces of knowledge because knowledge is free. Oh, and don't worry, most of the stuff in the video is super cheap. I think it's like under $30, I think, but a lot of the time, just knowing something is actually more valuable than having the correct gear, at least in my opinion. I know you guys are dying to hear what these things are, so let's get a move on. My name is Dustin, your video tour guide, and please keep your arms and legs inside your chairs at all times and sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. The first knowledge nugget are these things. Over the years, as you grow your business as a filmmaker, so will your collection of gear. Right now, I currently own 3 cameras, an A7S II, an A7 III, and of course, my Panasonic S1H. Because of this, I now own 3 different kinds of batteries for my cameras, and when I need all 3 cameras for a shoot, the batteries just pile up in my bag, especially the ones from the A7S II, because they last about as long as free cookies on my counter. That also doesn't include the batteries I use for lights, audio, and anything else that needs that sweet electric goodness. Plus, when one battery dies and you put a fresh one in the camera, first, it may not be as fresh as you think, and once you put the dead battery back in your bag, you can't really tell which ones are charged and which are dead. And so every time you change batteries, you spend 20 minutes accidentally putting the same dead battery in the camera over and over and look like a bloody fool. That's where this comes in. They're called battery mags. Not only do they keep everything tidy in your bag, but you can put stickers on the batteries so when you start changing out batteries, you can tell which are dead and which are full of juice. Speaking of batteries, let's move on.
Now you're probably wondering why I'm on the ground and why there are some batteries right here. Although what I mentioned before about battery mags, if you're just a more organized person, then battery mags may not be for you. If they are for you though, and you do the little dead battery sticker trick, then how can you do the same thing with non-rechargeable batteries? Well, watch this. Did you see that? I'll do it again. Right? Isn't that freaking mind-blowing? Okay, if you don't see what I'm talking about, let me slow it down.
When these batteries hit the ground, you'll notice that one will actually bounce slightly into the air and the other one doesn't really bounce at all. It kind of just flops over on the ground. The battery that doesn't bounce is a fresh battery, and the one that does has been used. There's something scientific that happens here once you use a battery that causes it to bounce, and I'm not going to explain it because I don't feel like pretending I'm smart enough to explain it, but it's a really handy trick to know in a pinch. There's a few things to know though with this trick. It works better if you drop the batteries on a harder surface, and make sure you drop it where the negative side of the battery, which is the flat side, hits the ground. Also know that all it tells you is that the battery is used. So, I mean, the battery could be 90% charged or 50% left in the battery, potentially. So basically, just because it bounces doesn't mean it's dead, and I wouldn't throw away the battery, but it's super handy if you know you have some fresh batteries that are mixed up with some used batteries. I'm fairly certain this works with any battery as well. Don't take my word for it because I haven't tested it. There's a bug. Don't take my word for it because I haven't tested it now that I think about it, since I usually only need AA's, but in theory it should work. Well, except maybe the 9-volt batteries, you know, these ones. I mean, you could always just do the tongue trick. If it shocks you, it is a good charge, and if it is a dull shock, it's running out of juice. Did I just give a bonus secret? Bonus secret! Now I know we can't agree on everything, but I know there is one thing we can agree on, and that is that gaff tape is the best tape in the history of time, and if you don't agree with me, you can take your attitude and opinion somewhere else. But seriously though, it sticks to virtually everything: walls, floors, cameras, animals, you know, a lot of things, and leaves virtually no residue. It works really well, except when it doesn't. Now, I've learned that sometimes when you need to hide a mic on a warm body over longer periods of time, it sometimes will come off whether you're sticking it to a piece of clothing or on skin, especially if you're micing a man with a chest like mine. Luckily, I haven't run into any women with texture like that, but if I do, I'll be ready because this tape solves that problem. Now this is athletic tape and it is very sticky. I use it anytime I'm attaching a mic to some clothes or onto someone's skin. It just does a much better job staying stuck all day long. Just make sure if you are shooting with talent that has more fragile skin, like someone who is a bit older, be warned that it can really hurt for them to take it off because it sticks really well as skin. And yes, people like me should also be careful. The next trick is not only useful as a filmmaker, but in life in general. As you can see, I have two XLR cables. One of them is coiled like a savage and one is coiled like a proper man. Now observe as I throw these cables one by one. As you can see, the cable that was coiled like a savage gave us some problems, and you're probably going to spend the next 10 minutes figuring out how to solve this tangled puzzle. The cable that was coiled like a proper man, though, came apart with ease. Now, I didn't just coil this cable very carefully, and that's why it unraveled so easily. There is actually a proper technique to coil this cable so you get these results. First, make a normal loop at the start like so. Then on the next loop, you have to rotate your wrist inward and make a loop like so. After that, you alternate from making a normal loop and this weird inward twisty loop. Don't feel stupid if it takes you a minute to wrap your head around this, but once you do, you'll be able to coil a cable and release it tangle-free. There are a few things you should know when you do coil a cable like this. Use a piece of Velcro to keep the cable together, because even if you coil the cable this way, it doesn't make it invincible to the cable tangle demons that live in our pockets and bags. If you get the ends mixed up, it can turn into a tangled mess. I also did learn you aren't necessarily supposed to do this with stingers or power cables, and I believe it has something to do with how the cable is made on the inside, and over time the cable won't hold up as long, but I only use a few stingers anyways and would rather have a cable that comes undone easily than to worry about how long it'll hold up. After you do this to the cable for a while as well, it'll actually start to remember the way you coiled it.
Mind blown.
This can also pose problems as well though and make it harder to coil, but just try your best to coil it the same every time. Do you love atmosphere but hate dealing with the hassle of a fog machine? Don't worry, you've come to the right place. You probably don't notice this super often, but fog can actually give you a super cool look in your videos. It basically gives light texture and it's really easy to achieve with a fog machine. But for me, I don't want to carry a fog machine around and have to worry about power or the fluid to give you that foggy effect. So in a pinch, I just use this. This is canned atmosphere, and yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know if you noticed in a few of my videos, but you can see some hazy atmosphere if you look closely, and yes, it was made with this. And you're not going to believe how many cans we had to use in this video. If you can guess, I will give you all 3 of my cameras. Wrong! I mean, it's a trick question because obviously this is just actual fog. And you can't have my cameras, sorry. We're going to talk about probably one of the most forgotten tools on set. This guy. How many of you show up to a shoot and think you brought everything besides a freaking flathead screwdriver? I have. All the time. Now this tool comes in many shapes and forms. You can get a big one like this, a small one, or some kind of multi-tool like this one from Red. Speaking of this, I really like this multi-tool and highly recommend it, but I still sometimes forget it. Here's a little trick I like to do. I'll get some kind of flathead accessory like this, and then I'll get one of those badge keychains, hook it to that, and then hook it to my backpack. This way, it's super easy to access when I'm assembling my gear, and it's always attached, so even if I forget my flathead, there's something right there. You can also attach this to your belt loop and carry it with you while you're on set, and that makes it just easier to access. How many of you have also used a coin to tighten the screw of your tripod plate? I definitely have. So another thing you can do is take a nickel, drill a hole in it, and attach that to that badge keychain instead if you don't want to buy something like what I have. And there you go. That is 7 knowledge nuggets every videographer should know. I hope you all have enjoyed and learned something new. Oh, and I've been meaning to mention this in a video. If you look in the description, I have a ton of affiliate links to a lot of my personal gear I use and just other gear in general that you might be interested in if you watch my videos. I figured if you guys want to support the channel and you're looking into buying one of these things, this is a great way to do that. So thank you to those who have already used my links. If not, and you still want to support the channel, you can always give the video a double thumbs up and subscribe and hit the bell button, because I've got more videos in the works and you can be notified when those are uploaded. But until the next video, happy filming.
Aja, place. Get out of here. Aja. Aja, place. Aja, place. Thank you. Good puppy.
What are you looking at, Tar? Here, you want it off? Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're just fine, Tar. Don't worry, no cats were harmed in the making of this.